In the late 50s, fear of the Soviet Union already permeated throughout America. Many government officials feared communist imposters working in their midst. They began picking each other off, believing the other genuine Americans to be Russian spies. This was partially led by Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy, who accused 205 other U.S. civil servants of socialist loyalty. The accused had to fight such slander for years on end. This paranoia was somewhat justified. Around this time, there were numerous legitimate Soviet threats. The Russians had successfully planted a bug in Washington, D.C., spying on the ambassador of the United States. The Cuban Missile Crisis especially incited fear, as the Soviets shipped bombs into the Gulf of Mexico. The American government would do anything to quell the Russian threat, to get a leg up on their enemy, including going to space. But in the shadows, the United States did other things to gain the upper hand. They thought the Soviets were investigating mind control, so they did too. Anything that could feasibly make their intelligence better. Hypnosis, psychosis, LSD, all outside the public eye, only being publicized decades later. The main focus of these experiments was mind control, getting people to do what they otherwise wouldn't. You may have heard of this before. This series of experiments was codenamed MK Ultra. Albert Hofmann was a moderately renowned Swiss chemist who, while doing his job mundanely, accidentally created the magnum opus of his career. A discovery that would not only immortalize his name, but change the American government forever. He had synthesized LSD for the first time in human history. Hofmann was also the first to take LSD, promoting its psychedelic effects. LSD's reputation would spread quickly. It was used to treat various mental ailments. Intense trips made people better understand their own mind. A powerful psychedelic is exactly what the American government needed to get an edge on Russian intelligence. They were going to need a lot of the drug to do what they set out to do. The government spent an accumulated amount of $3 million in today's money on over 100 million doses of LSD that were immediately put to use to kickstart MK Ultra. This load, brought from Sweden, was the entire global supply of LSD at the time. The overall payments were in cash to not allow any financial departments to follow the CIA's tracks. The man often credited as the project lead was Sidney Gottlieb, a Jewish chemist who had previously tried to create a truth serum. Interestingly, many former Nazi scientists were hired to work on MK Ultra. After the fall of the Third Reich, many were recruited by the American government for their talents and reputation. Some theorized the former Nazis' mixed morality led to the questionable practices employed in MK Ultra. In more detail, what really was MK Ultra? What did they experiment on? The US government was very interested in hypnosis. The allure of mind control was too appealing to miss out on. The ability to alter someone's mind and bend it to your will was like a superpower, like psychedelic puppeteering. Gottlieb said hypnosis was a two-step process. First, you had to blast away the existing mind. Second, you had to find a way to insert a new mind into that resulting void. So, they tested which drugs were the greatest means to this end. The results were inconclusive. The means of hypnosis was not consistent, and in general, they didn't have enough data to make any genuine claims. Really, they didn't achieve much mind control at all. The copious drugs taken by the CIA's victims only served to blast their mind away, with no new mind to fill the void.
And these lab rats were truly victims. Many were already vulnerable, suffering with mental and emotional deficiencies including depression, anxiety, and severe addiction. Perhaps their logic was a weaker mind, easy to destroy. Other experimentees were unknowingly giving LSD, including the CIA's own employees, who had their morning coffee spiked by their own co-workers. Many experiments left subjects in a drug-induced coma for weeks on end, and it certainly left all ill. These United States citizens' rights were intrinsically violated. Not a positive right, but a negative right. A right to avoid undue harm by your own government. Was it their responsibility to sacrifice their well-being for the government intelligence? Like unenlisted soldiers? Perhaps their sacrifice would be worthwhile. But most, if not all, of MK Ultra's experiments gave no real knowledge, only serving as a waste of money, time, and humanity. Extreme doses of LSD were also used as a form of psychological torture against America's greatest enemies, which shows in MK Ultra, US citizens were treated equally to the worst of terrorists. The impact of MK Ultra was personal. As we said, many experimentees were left permanently harmed. Their minds have been blasted away, and they weren't coming back. For many lab rats, their personalities were completely altered, but some did not come back at all. One government employee whose coffee was spiked with LSD, biologist and veteran Frank Olson, plummeted 13 whole stories, straight till his death. Circumstances around the fall were ambiguous. Did his trip drive Olson to suicide, or was he murdered to prevent the veteran blowing the whistle on their illegal operations? The CIA later admitted whether it was a suicide or a murder. Olson's death was entirely their fault. The scientists behind all of this did not go without legal trial for all illegal actions of MK Ultra. Tax reports and declassified documents brought the hijinks to light. In a judicial hearing, their guilt was on objective display. Without considerable statistical results, they had no excuse for their actions. Their entire agency had to apologize for the project. It said, the agents doing the monitoring were not qualified scientific observers. The test subjects were seldom accessible beyond the first hours of the test. In a number of instances, the test subject became ill for hours or days, and the effective follow-up was impossible. But, were they truly sorry? Or was the CIA only sorry to get caught? In the end, only a select few scientists received honest punishment. The wider agency did not receive any genuine repercussions.
In the public eye, the CIA was not able to make a strong defense of their actions. The people were turned off by their morally questionable experiments. MK Ultra, among other things, caused trust in the government to plummet. MK Ultra represents a loss of innocence, accepting the reality that our government is willing to do these things, is accepting they're willing to do plenty else. When MK Ultra was in its course, the public was none the wiser. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes today in the 21st century? How can any American be sure of their rights when we know things like MK Ultra can occur? It's ambiguous. Schrodinger's conspiracy. I suppose only the future will tell the true nature of our present.